But I did allude to project specific, and frankly, this is one that I probably spent the most time focused on diving into and learning deeply about. And this is really enabling Kubernetes is really what this is about. It gives you the control plane within vSphere, something that we're already very familiar with, to give us that unified access to compute, storage, and networking resource, and also VMs, containers, and the new native pods that are high performing, secure, and easy to consume. Concretely, this really means that IT ops can see the manage Kubernetes objects in the vSphere client, and basically leverage some of those vSphere scripts that you're already using and third-party tools that you can run right against Kubernetes. So this is what some of the client looks like if we're giving some of these views away. Really, it remains consistent with that client user experience that you're used to manage these environments. So spinning up an environment is just a matter of taking control, giving it a namespace, and launching out some pods. And the nice thing about the namespace model Kubernetes comes with, and vSphere's embraced, is that it gives us a lot of that governance over the applications and consistency. And they pushed it across VMs, native pods, and the entire clusters. Big advantage as a developer, you can no longer have to rely on IT. IT can give the developers their control to self-service within their cloud resources, but also keep the governance within the capability that you allow those developers to have only. So great advantage here. Another dive into a little bit more screens within the vSphere dashboard when it comes to project specific. So the operations team have that single view that I alluded to for policy and workload within the namespaces. And we can set those limits. In this case, we're talking about the specific resources that we've got available in CPU limits, and all of that's managed again by a namespace and the resource pool that's available to support these limits. And here's an example of how you can adjust those limits that end up in our given application. And then within a container itself, so once we've got an application and we've got lots of containers, we can adjust each container to have a certain enforced range that it can fluctuate within, because containers are a lot more flexible in that aspect. We don't necessarily have to dictate specifically where they need to live and how they need to live. We can actually let them have a little bit of a flexibility and range. And of course, that also comes into that developer's capability that we talked about within those clusters. Storage is another big piece of this, because as we have our namespaces, we can now dictate what those containers are allowed to do and what storage they're allowed to have access to, and be able to have the controls, but also give the right amount of leverage to the right individuals, like I've referenced developers ongoing here. And basically, we build them storage classes and quotas that they can then fluctuate in and out of. And this is another view if you were to have partitioned some of the storage pieces for those policies within a given namespace. In this case, the same day shipping app. We see the storage add number 4 pieces. So the other big focus for me beyond projects Pacific was the overarching hybrid cloud operations model that VMware has always done, looking at that future. And so for this, I really wanted to dive in and show you how they continue to look at how they continue to unify and simplify their tools to help us bring IT into an easier way to manage, and giving the right security levels and controls and visibility to the right individuals. So, hybrid cloud automations, another big piece that they've just continued to move forward, automating some of the self-serve and deployments, day 2 operation, and really kind of focusing on those complex applications that need to have different controls or reasons why they need to expand and contract, and that also ventures out into the containers, into any cloud control. Self-driving operations. So of course, this is about vRealize Operations Manager. And they continue to make advancements in this and helping again to unify and help bring additional controls as containers are becoming mainstream, capacity planning and performance management, troubleshooting, enabling. It's all about what Operations Manager has been about, but it's in Operations 8.0, it's more optimized for what we're dealing with today. And this is a big one for us. We spend a lot of time at Entisys really planning and performing cloud migrations. We're living in a world now where multi-cloud and hybrid cloud is the way of the future, and moving workloads is what our future really looks like. If you haven't really clicked with that yet, watch it happen. It's coming. And so, VMware HCX is a leading application in helping to enable that mobility through moving workloads between environments. And that's including on-prem to on-prem, as well as off to cloud. And then in many cases, we're finding customers coming back. So of course, Cloud Health gives us exposure to what we've got and where it's at, how it's performing, and what we need to do to adjust it. Cloud Health's a great tool that we continue to leverage quite a bit, and I'm always awe-inspired with the ability to automate against it to help us fix aspects of what we're doing in the future to make those workloads perform the way they need to, where they need to, and help mitigate and perform as planned. And then again, Wavefront. Really, this is delivering integrated full stack enterprise of observability. So it's a bit of the way that we had Cloud Health in its exposure, but it really is empowering DevOps and Kubernetes and container operations in a more user-friendly and a different view of how it's working, in my opinion. I believe that this is a tool that's probably fitting in a future place within DevOps right now, as Cloud Health is kind of a little overlap in their capability. But I believe that the Wavefront helps us really find that root cause a little bit faster. And I guess the end of this one is really kind of sum it all up. I really was excited again about the whole entire cloud management platform and being able to bring it all in and together into the vRealize suite of tools and how it really works well to focus on how we're going to adopt and manage IT in the future, and being able to continue to move forward with it in an easy, seamless, and more focused to the direction that we're headed way.
Yeah, that was great, Tim. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to cover in a pretty short time. So, I think anyone that's interested in this stuff would definitely be interested in taking you up on the offer of a deeper dive session. But one thing I think it's worth noting, at least on the Kubernetes front, is I believe that VMware is actually the #2 contributor to the Kubernetes open source platform, open source project. So they are really all in on this idea behind Kubernetes. So a lot of exciting stuff that I'm expecting to see from VMware going forward, and I'm sure you're kind of in that same boat.
Very excited. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tim.